Welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. It is day 2 of SEC Media Days. We've got Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, and Texas to talk about. And check out Stadium Rant.
When you get to the point where you do the work consistently, you invest in yourself consistently, you make sacrifices consistently when everybody else is slacking off, when everybody's partying, when everybody's making excuses, you will dominate every single person you're up against, and your limits become non-existent.
Welcome in, guys. We're here for our summer series. I've got a special guest with us, King Will there from Stadium Rant, and of course, John Hammond's down below. What's up, guys?
It's an honor to be here, Brad. Thanks for having me on.
What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
Day 2 was full of some good stuff at the SEC Media Days, but before we kick that off, let me talk about our Facebook page for just a second here. If you guys are with us on Facebook, I am promoting Facebook quite a bit here, so and doing quite a bit of work on Facebook, and we appreciate you. You can help support us by sending stars or by subscribing. It's 99 cents a month. It does give you your own page and your own chat as a subscriber, and we would appreciate that. Please like and follow. If you're on Facebook with us, we would appreciate that. We appreciate that you would like and subscribe on. Trying to get to my comments and get that off so you can see this.
Came out 35 minutes later carrying police.
There we go. There's like and follow on.
Are you all right, Brad? You're breaking up really bad.
It's being really slow. Yeah, it's being slow. It is being slow. And we done this last night and didn't have a single issue. You never know nowadays. John, we did this last night and didn't have a single issue, did we not? You just never know. Same thing. All right, I'll tell you what. I'll quit trying to add in some extra stuff here, and we'll just get to the topics. All right, guys. Hopefully things are halfway normal right this minute, and we'll get to some topics. So the first up today at SEC Media Days was the SEC tournament winner last year, Georgia, and two-time champs in 21 and 22. Kirby Smart came to the mic today for the first for the 2025 season for the first time. And I think Kirby Smart is always pretty impressive, Will, when he speaks.
Oh, I thought he was absolutely impressive. He's straight, blunt, to the point. Fastest coach in college football history to get to 100 wins. Considering he coaches in the SEC, that's impressive. You would have thought the fastest to 100 wins would coach at like San Diego State or Boise State or some other conference. But Kirby Smart seems to have it rolling down at Georgia. I thought it was a pretty impressive interview. What do you think, John?
I did. And I think too, he stressed a lot of things. He was talking about relationships over transactions. I thought that was a really good thing. He was talking about building relationships with players, and he wanted guys that are fired up, passionate about the game. He said, I'm earning $200K a year. He said, I'm very comfortable. And he said, you don't reach your goals being comfortable.
Right.
And I thought that was a pretty neat thing that, he's kind of built his whole ideas around what Saban has always done. He's built Georgia into what he's built it into. He kind of took the same steps as Saban did, being from his coaching tree. And, he's done what, he said he was going to do at Georgia. He's won what, 2 national championships?
Is it his 9th year? No, 10th year. I think this is his 10th year.
This is 10th year.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Georgia has not been Georgia the last couple of years.
They still won the SEC championship last year.
They did, but they've not been the Georgia that we've really, really saw the last, 3 or 4 straight years that Kirby had when he was there. Like the quarterback play was really bad last year, Brad. They didn't get a lot out of Carson Beck. Carson Beck just did not have a great year. Hopefully,
I think some of it was there was some injuries involved. I think in some of that that might have played a role in some of that with Carson Beck last year.
Oh,
Matter of fact, I'm not even sure that he's completely healthy to start at Miami this year, and at the beginning of the season.
Well, and I think he's going to have and the thing is, he's going to have a lot of young guys this year. I know that Stockton is back, Gunnar Stockton, their quarterback. He made some really big plays down the stretch for them. When Carson Beck was hurt, they got the kid from USC, Zachariah Branch. They get Dylan Bell back. They get Ostradelt back. They're great, probably one of the best tight ends in college football. So they're going to have some offense to work with, and you know what they do on the defensive side of the ball. They're pretty special when they get going.
So before we move on to the next topic and the quarterback at Georgia, Kirby, in my opinion, guys, I still think without Saban in the college football game, for my money, I think he's the best coach in college football. What do you guys think?
I do. I think no mistake about it, Brad. He's probably – you talking about Kirby?
Yeah, Kirby's. I think he's the best coach in college football.
I think Kirby's the best in college football. I think, next to Saban, I think he's right there. He's one of the most decorated former assistants he's had. And Kirby Smart, he learned a lot from Saban. And he mentioned that a lot today. He was talking about Terry, Coach Saban's wife. He said, make no mistake about it, the boss at home is Terry. So, and then he kind of went in and talked a little bit about Will Muschamp. He was talking about how
I kind of thought Monica might like that.
Yeah.
The best coach in college football.
He had served some roles as a co-defense coordinator the last 2 years, Will Muschamp. So he's still with the program. So Kirby had a lot to say today.
Yeah, I think he's without a doubt the best coach in college football. Now that Saban's gone, in fact, I can't even think of anybody I would but close to the same class as Kirby.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I think, guys. Like, he talks like the best coach in football. He prepares like the best coach in football. His record says he's the best coach in football. I mean, honestly, like you said, Will, I really don't think you can get much better, to be honest. All right, we are going to get to the Georgia quarterback. They're going to be with a new starter. Gunner did get to start in the playoffs. They did not perform up to par against Notre Dame in the playoffs. He did come in relief for Beck against Texas in the SEC championship game, and they did pull that one out with Gunner Stockton as the quarterback. But he's been in the program a long time, Will, and you know, what's your opinion about Gunner Stockton to start 2025?
Gunner Stockton is a solid quarterback. I just yet to be determined if he can reach that star caliber. Like you said, he did beat Texas in the SEC championship game last year, although I'm going to say that was more on Texas than it was on Gunner. He did struggle against Notre Dame, but that Notre Dame defense last year, with the exception of the start of the national championship game, was pretty special. I think he'll be an NFL quarterback at some point. I don't think he'll go before round 3. So really, it's just, can Stockton utilize the weapons he has dealt, the receivers, not turn the ball over. Maybe he won't win them a whole lot of games, but hopefully he won't lose them many either.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fair. I think that's completely fair. Go ahead, John.
And you got to think too, the starting job ain't really necessarily a lock-in for Stockton either. You know, they got Ryan Poliski. He's their backup. He's a really good quarterback. So Gunner's got to go out there, and he knows he's got to play well. He did some really good things in response of, you know, the injury to Carson Beck last year. So, and he's going to, like you said, he's going to have some weapons. He's got Dylan Bell. He's got Osterdelp, Branch. You know, he's going to have some weapons to work at. You know, Noah Thomas. So Georgia's not, how do I say this? They're not lacking anything offensively. Now, I would say the running back room's kind of a question mark to me. Where are they going to go in their running back room?
I think their running back room was a question mark last year, to be honest.
It was. I mean, their running game has not really been a big thing probably since Sony Michel. Georgia's always been known for a great running back
JC?
and they just haven't produced the last couple of years. You know, ETN last year, he was hurt off and on. There was just a lot of issues in the backfield. So Gunner Stockton's got some weapons, and he's going to be able to use them to his advantage.
All right, so I got a quick question for you guys about Gunner Stockton. So I don't know if you guys saw the media days today, if you watched any of it. Georgia was early this morning, the first team to come to the podium. If you've seen Gunner Stockton, can I ask a simple question to you guys? Why does Gunner Stockton look like he's a 35-year-old man?
He does.
He does.
I started to ask the same thing. Like he looks like he could be working at UPS. Like,
I mean, I'm telling you, he's like the real estate accountant or something, man. Like the way he's dressed today, he looks like a 35-year-old man.
He does. He does.
You look at Arch Manning and then you look at Gunner Stockton, and you're like, okay, something's not right here.
Yeah.
I was like, man. When I was watching today, I had somebody walk in the room, and I told him, I said, why does he look like a 35-year-old man?
And I thought it was kind of funny. Kirby there's a lot of, you know, jumbled talk at the media days about Saban coming back to coaching.
Yeah.
And he kind of laughed it off.
He pretty much tried to put that to bed pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, he put that to bed. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure. All right, we're going to move on to our next topic, and this is a topic I'm asking you guys about: the media, the perception, the rankings. Like I said, Georgia did win the SEC championship last year, tournament championship. Texas beat them, I take that back. Georgia won the regular season and the championship, SEC championship. So my question to you, are they kind of being disrespected preseason here? Will, what do you think?
Well, I have them going 11-1 this year, losing to the only SEC team that I really follow, which are Archmania, which we'll get to in a little bit. But to be fair, they're being disrespected, and I mean not to take a shot at you guys. They did almost lose last year. They struggled with Vandy. They struggled with Kentucky. They struggled with some of the other teams. So are they being disrespected? Maybe a little bit. But if they don't like it, go out and shut people up.
I mean, I'm just saying, Georgia's kind of been the big dog in the SEC the last 4 or 5 years.
That's
John?
fair, but they struggled a bit last year.
They did, but they still did win the regular season and the SEC championship. So, John?
I mean, let's not forget here, Georgia's won 2 straight national titles under Kirby, okay?
Yep.
They was one way away from winning in 2017, right? And they had some brutal stuff happen in 2003, in 2023, before the expansion. The whole Florida State thing, all that stuff. But Georgia is always in the mix. I think they're going to be there. Smart has won 11 or more games in 7 of his last 8 years. That's pretty impressive. The biggest question mark to me, Brad, is whether or not Gunnar Stockton can be the quarterback to get it done. And I'm sure, everybody's going to ask that question. The defense last year had a down year by their standards.
In reality, Gunnar Stockton can probably be the type of quarterback that has won Kirby Smart championships. Let's be honest.
I think
he wasn't Jaden Daniels, and Gunnar Stockton can probably manage the offense kind of like I'm trying to think of his darn name that won the championships 2 back-to-back. What was the quarterback? Stetson.
Stetson Bennett,
Yeah.
Don't you think Gunnar Stockton could play like Stetson Bennett?
I do. I think he can, but
I say is what I'm saying.
This is his first full year learning that offense, learning that, it's sort of like the
fairness, Stetson Bennett done it in his first year and won a title.
It's sort of like with the whole Arch Manning type thing coming up. Like what you're going to start out with Ohio State. How do you respond? And that's like Georgia. They got a key game coming out right out of the gate at Tennessee. Win at Tennessee, and you got Alabama, you got Ole Miss and Texas coming to Athens. I don't think you're going to have a problem getting to 10 wins there. So, and to be honest, Georgia's won? Have they won 8 in a row going back to 2016 beating Tennessee, I think? Is it 8?
Something like that. Yeah.
So that's a big game right out of the gate. I think if they win that game,
in Knoxville, third game of the year,
and Tennessee's not going to be. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Tennessee's got some question marks as well, especially at quarterback.
They do. So, all right, my next topic, guys. This one's kind of a mind blower because Georgia has had the last couple of 2-3 years with the extra COVID year. They've had a lot of 5th and 6th year seniors, and all of that's kind of gone after last year. All the COVID extra year guys are gone. This roster Kirby said this today himself. His roster's 54% of his roster is first or second year players.
Yeah, I mean they do bring back Christian Miller. I think C.J. Allen is back, the linebacker. Dalen Everett's back. They got some pieces defensively, especially in the linebacker room and especially up front.
But we all know the SEC, I mean, experience matters most of the time in the SEC. So will the roster being made up of 54% of first and second year players, will this affect Georgia negatively, I guess you could say, Will?
I'm sure it'll have a little bit of a negative impact, but their first and second year players, being that they're in the SEC, being that Kirby recruited them, are still better than 90% of the college rosters. So they got a little bit of growing pain cutting their teeth to do, so to speak. But as long as they can get through the first couple of games, they should win the first couple, go to Knoxville, get to 3-0.
Like I said, Will, though, there's a lot of concerns. You know, you're playing in the SEC, but Georgia has about as nice of a schedule as they could possibly ask for.
They do.
You know, there's going to be losses there, but I think they might get caught by Bama or Texas, and there might be a second loss in there somewhere. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia will be in the running for the college football playoff again. But my biggest question mark is, can the defense come back from what they did a year ago? The defense a year ago was not up to Georgia standards.
It wasn't up to Kirby Smart Georgia standards. They were 8th overall in the SEC last year in defense. Out of the SEC teams, they were 8th overall, and they have been first or second like 5 years in a row before that.
It just was not what Kirby Smart envisioned for his team a year ago.
Yeah. And they were 15th in the running game. I was talking about the running game earlier.
Yeah, it was not
Out
the best.
Yeah.
To be fair to the running game though, ETN stayed injured quite a bit all season last year. He was in and out. There was just a lot of issues in the running back room.
All right, last topic on Georgia, guys. The wide receiver room got quite a bit of an upgrade, I believe. So Gunner will have some talent to throw the ball to. So he will have at least that. So what do you guys think of the upgrades that Georgia did to their wide receivers?
You want to go first, Sean?
I can. I really like Zachariah Branch. I think he's really, really good. He's one of the nation's top return guys.
One of the fastest dudes in the nation.
Yeah,
sure.
he's dangerous every time he gets the ball in his hands. But you know what's crazy? He only caught 3 touchdown passes over his last 2 years at USC. That's what's kind of coming out on the page at me. And he
was a big return guy, but they didn't use him in the wide receiver, in the offense.
Mm-mm. And I think Georgia's looking for him to be an explosive athlete for them, and I think he'll do really good there. And they got Noah Thomas, like I said. They got Oster Delp. They got Dylan Bell. They got a plethora of receivers that they can kind of rush the ball to and get it out in open space with.
And Branch is dangerous. You get him the ball in open space, Will, and he can be gone at any second.
I look for Branch to have an absolutely huge year. I think he'll end up first or second team All-American as long as Gunner can get him the ball. They also have, I can't remember his name. They have the best tight end in the country. He will for sure be a lottery pick when he comes out.
Ostradale,
He has weapons to get the ball to. He also has Nate Thomas. He's got plenty of weapons. I'm curious to see if Nate Frazier can catch the ball coming out of the back of the field.
Yeah, Frazier is their biggest back. I think Frazier is going to be a big part of that offense.
How's he doing catching the ball out of the backfield, though?
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too, Will. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. Georgia's going to be Georgia. They definitely are going to be good. I do not see them, losing over a couple of games more than likely this year at the absolute most. And Kirby Smart always does a great job with that program. But we're going to get to somebody here that could be a little questionable here at Auburn, or at least he has been the first 2 years that he has been at the helm of Auburn. Hugh Freeze took the stage for the Auburn Tigers today, and they were second to fill up the room. The Auburn Tigers were. And Hugh has some work to do, Will. Let's just call it like it is.
Hugh was magical back in the day. I believe it was Ole Miss. I just don't buy him at Auburn. I don't think it's a good fit. I don't think it's the right fit. And I'm going to go ahead on record and saying he either gets fired midseason or as soon as the season's over.
I mean, they start the season off with Baylor. That could be a tough game right off the bat.
Well, here's my biggest problem. If they don't have a winning season this year, this will be 4 straight years.
He's in 2 seasons at Auburn, guys. He's 11-14.
And you look at their schedule last year, Brad, they left so many games.
Like 6 of them.
Cal, Arkansas, I think there was Oklahoma.
Vandy.
Oh, no, I think it's Vandy. We're all there. And now they should be on the right side of those this year. But they crushed the portal. There's some depth. This team should be far better than what they was a year ago. But, everybody got upset over Peyton Thorne last year. He was not bad. They had their moments. I think Thorne's graduated now. I think Brown transferred to Iowa maybe. The biggest issue was the interceptions. They had a lot, the Oklahoma game especially.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that was not – it was – a lot of it was scheme. It was misdirection and receivers not knowing where they're supposed to be. And I think there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Well, and I think the defense had their own problems too. They couldn't take the ball away. They was good. They had problems on stopping teams on third down. I think their defensive front's going to be good. They got Keldrick Falk. He's going to be in the NFL probably next season. He's probably what, Brad? A top 10 overall pick. He's good at rushing the quarterback.
He looked good today. I can tell you that. If you saw his suit today, he had the bling on. Falk, he looked good today.
I tell you, the key of the season, I think, is forcing turnovers. Jackson Arnold, I think he's going to be a key.
That's my next topic. So hold on to that thought for just a second. But that's my next topic here is Auburn did go out. Hugh Freeze did go out and picked up Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma out of the transfer portal. Jackson Arnold was the number 1 overall quarterback in his class. He's a 5-star kid, and he struggled last year. Let's be honest. He was benched, come back in with Oklahoma last year. He struggled with some confidence. That was all talked about today at SEC Media Days. Will, do you think Jackson Arnold returns to form?
I think he'll be solid. I don't think he'll be spectacular, but it all depends on if they can get the scheme issues fixed. A lot of the mistakes and interceptions last year, the guys were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yep. I don't know if it was poor coaching or just players who didn't bother to learn the system.
Well, and I think, too, I'll say Jackson Arnold's really, really good, but he might not even be their best quarterback. Deuce McKnight might be their best quarterback.
Well, and Deuce was talked about today just a little bit. And
Deuce Knight, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a chance if Jackson doesn't perform like he's supposed to, that Deuce might get in the game here. But Jackson is the number 1 guy. Hugh said that today. He brought him in for that. like I said, he was the number one quarterback in his class. He was a 5-star kid.
And something else that Jackson brought up. They was talking about the game against Oklahoma. It's the SEC opener. He said there would not be a lot of hostility, animosity towards Oklahoma. He's going up against his old team. It's a big game for them. Lose this game, and you got to go to A&M.
I mean, that Baylor and the Oklahoma game, the third game of the year. I mean, those two games, you go 1-2, and Hugh Freeze might be in trouble. Will might be right.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it, Brad. They play, I think it's Oklahoma right out of the gate. I'm trying to think. It's Baylor to start the year.
Yeah,
but then they play Ball State, and I think they play South Alabama, Mercer, which basically those are layup wins if you look at them from a
should be.
They should be. Then you got to beat Kentucky, win at Vanderbilt, and then come up with an upset somewhere like A&M, Georgia.
But on the flip side of that, guys, if they could split the Baylor and Oklahoma, and when you look at that schedule, could they be 6-1 or whatever it is towards the end of the year? They could be.
The 50-50 games are Arkansas, Baylor, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, A&M, and Vanderbilt. And the Kentucky game's at home, Missouri's at home. Now you do go on the road at Arkansas and at Baylor. You get Georgia at home, but the game against A&M's on the road. So you got to at least split those games, and you got to at least win one of those, upset one of those, to actually have a winning season and not hopefully feel the pain and the heat that Hugh Freeze is feeling.
Hold that thought, because I've got a couple of other topics. But before we get to that one, I do want to ask you, John, about their wide receiver room. Cam Coleman, they've got a few other really, really good wide receivers as well. Cam Coleman is one of those receivers that was kind of making some freshman mistakes last year in places. But I want to ask you, he's very, very talented.
He's talented. They also brought in Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech. They brought in Fields from Wake Forest.
So they have a great wide receiver room.
Also, you can't forget about Malcolm Simmons. I think he finished the team with 40 catches last year. So this is a really good wide receiver room. And if Jackson Arnold can get the ball out in the open space and not make mistakes, and like Will said, cut down on the interceptions, I think they got a shot at being pretty decent, especially on offensively.
Will, what do you think of their wide receiver room?
Their wide receiver room is absolutely stacked. They got a lot of game changers. They got a couple of tall receivers. I don't remember exactly how tall they are, but I think they got one that's like 6'3", 6'4", go up and high point the football when you need to. It's all about whether or not Jackson Arnold can be Jackson Arnold, cut down on the interceptions. And
schematic wise too, kind of like what we said. Yeah,
there was a lot of scheme issues last year. That we'll talk about that with Kentucky. Kentucky had a lot of those same issues. Last year.
But they do have an absolute stellar wide receiver room. I mean, matter of fact, guys, I don't see how they would not be a top 3 or top 5 wide receiver room in the country, to be quite honest.
I mean, they're one of the tops. I mean, if you look at Cam Coleman, you look at Malcolm Simmons. Now they did lose Hunter to the Rams. He'll be a big loss in their backfield, but they're they still got guys that can come in and kind of ease the pain of losing their running back room.
They can have 4 guys with 40 plus receptions. I mean, they really could.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
they
guys.
very easily could.
Yeah, I think so. So Hugh Freeze, I believe he needs to have a positive leap here in his 3rd year at Auburn. Auburn is a program that is used to winning, used to being an 8, 9, 10, 11 win team at least year after year. 11-14 is not going to do it. Will, do you think this Auburn team, and looking at their schedule, can make a leap?
Can they? Yes. Do I think they will? Unfortunately not. I think they got to win a majority of those 50-50 games, and they got to beat either Oklahoma or Baylor.
I think that Baylor game is the key. If they lose that Baylor game, that's one extra game that you're not going to win. And you're going to have to, from there, you're going to have to win a couple of the 50-50 games. Because Georgia's going to be tough. Alabama's going to be a tough. A&M on the road is going to be tough.
They do get Georgia at home this year.
They do. But and it's a rivalry game.
It's one of their biggest rivalry games, and they get them at home. So,
yeah.
But my last question for Auburn, is everything on the line this season for Hugh Freeze?
I think it is.
At Auburn?
Brad. I've said it since day one. I think, he's going to have to get them to a bowl game. I don't think 6 wins is going to.
I mean, he's just in year 3, but I fully kind of believe that too.
I really don't believe 6 wins and just getting by to get to a bowl game is going to cut it with Auburn fans. I there's still a lot of room.
What's the magic number? Do you think he has to get to 8?
I think he has to win at least 8.
At least 8.
To kind of feel safe, maybe 7.
I don't know if 7 will be enough. I think he's got to get to 8.
Right, yeah. 8 probably would have to do it. I'm guessing, but
I'd say
7 would make him feel a little safe. But 6 is probably going to not. You're going to get to a bowl game, but you're not going to be.
Nah, I don't think 6 is enough.
You're not going to feel any hope with the Auburn fan base because they're still kind of, eat up after last season. It was a tough year for the whole Auburn community, and and they brought Hugh Freeze in to fix all this.
They brought him in to fix all this
because if you look at Auburn before he got there, it was an absolute disaster.
It was,
and they lost to what was it? If they lost to an FBS school, I think what was his second year, his first
they lost
year.
To Diego Pavia at New Mexico State as well.
That's what I mean. Like you are not on the safe side with these fans. Like you got to win some games. You got to at least get to 8 wins if you want to see change.
Will, do you say 8 wins as well?
I say 8 wins, 7 if one of the 7 is beating Georgia.
Or Alabama.
Alabama,
yeah.
If he knocks off Georgia and one of those are the 7 wins, I think he keeps his job.
That's fair. And you might be right, but I still think the bowl game will be important if he's just 7-5.
Well, I mean, if bowl games now, if you've not already learned, Brad, they tend to don't mean any much anymore except for the.
They still go against your record, and he's 11-14. So if he doesn't get 3 games above 500 on his record this year, after 3 years, he's going to be under 500.
Yep. Which is unfortunate.
That'll probably get him fired.
Which is unfortunate because he had some good teams at Ole Miss, Liberty. He had some really good players at Liberty.
Listen, I lived in Alabama for 5.5 years. I know this Auburn fan base pretty well. They cannot be happy with what's going on. I think 8 wins. I really do.
Well, and would you ever would have thought that Auburn basketball would surpass Auburn football?
Oh, it's right now. It's not even close, to be honest. All right, we are going to get to Tennessee, my favorite darn topic. My absolute favorite topic. I could not wait to get to this one. I'm just saying. All right, Josh Heuple come to the mic. He was 3rd today in line, and the Tennessee Vols kind of took over SEC media days. I will say this, Will. Heuple's impressive. Like he's there was Clark Lee, we were talking about last night, and I was talking about he's just not a rah-rah guy. Like, he doesn't motivate you when he talks. But when Josh Heuple talks, you want to run through walls.
Yeah, I like Josh Heuple. The problem is he's solid at Tennessee, but he's never quite good enough to get him into the playoffs. And this is Tennessee. I'm a Louisville fan, so obviously I can't stand Tennessee. If he doesn't get him into the playoffs this year, I don't know if he's coming back.
I'm going to say this about the Vols. They got hit with some weird stuff this summer. The Nico Iamaleava situation.
We're going to get to the Nico stuff for sure, man. That was some weird stuff. I agree with you. It was. What do you think about Heuple? Do you like Heuple? Do you think he's?
I do. I mean, I think
the reason why people want to play for him.
You was talking about a rah-rah last night with the contrast from him to them is completely different. When Heuple talks, it's like you just want to run through a brick wall. Like, it's just you want to play for a guy like that. You want to.
And he's a great offensive mind as well. Now, defensively, they could use some work most of the time. Of course, last year wasn't that case. They had a great defense last year. But as much as I can't stand Tennessee, and everybody who ever watched this show knows this, so I have to give Heuple some credit. I mean, he does know the game. He speaks really well. He's got that motivation to his voice.
The biggest question mark for Tennessee is, they only returned 3 starters offensively. And they're going to be without Dylan Sampson, which is going to be a huge, huge loss.
It is. I agree with you.
If they can continue to move offensively with the run game, I think they'll be good. I don't know, Brett. I'm just not a fan of their running game, their running back room. I know Starr Thomas is in there, Bishop's there, but
hang on. Let me get to this topic, and we'll go down through and we'll talk a little bit more about their running room a little bit. But he started out talking about Nico. What a strange spring it was. Will, to be honest with you, I don't think we've seen anything quite like that, to be honest. But what a strange spring it was. Basically, Tennessee and UCLA just made a trade.
It was basically
they just made a trade.
A trade for a trade. You had Joey Aguilar. He was going to UCLA. Iamaleava showed up. So he ends up leaving Tennessee, going to UCLA. Aguilar switches up, goes to Tennessee. So I'm going to be honest with you. And I know a lot of people say, well, Tennessee lost a great quarterback. I'm not going to say he was great, but he was a terrific talent.
He was good. I don't know that he was great, but he was good.
As a prospect, I think he's a lot better than Aguilar.
Yes, I agree with that.
As a prospect.
Josh did kind of surprise today and tell at the SEC Media Days that Aguilar is not locked in as the starter, that he has a 3-man competition at QB. I thought that was a little bit interesting today at Media Days.
He's got the McIntyre kid that's really, really good. And I think the Himlinger, something. I'm trying to think of the backup to Aguilar.
Yeah,
played a little bit last year.
That's what I'm saying. He surprised the people and basically said they're going to have a 3-man competition going into fall camp. Will, what do you think about that?
Didn't Aguilar get started at Appalachian State, or am I thinking of somebody else?
That's the kid. He played at Appalachian State. So
you're going to take a kid who was at Appalachian State because that's where his talent level is. No disrespect to Appalachian State. You're like many, many, many rungs below the SEC.
Exactly. I feel the same way.
And now you're going to ask the kid from Appalachian State to look Georgia, Bama, Auburn, Oklahoma, Texas, and
Right
Purdue.
now.
I just don't see it happen.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I mean,
To look him right in the eye and just and shoot his shot.
I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he was great at Appalachian State. He made some plays with his feet. He could throw. He threw over, I think, what was it, Brad? 6,000. But you're going from App State to the SEC.
I mean, the competition against App State is not quite the SEC. No offense.
And you know, like I said, the key game for them will be Georgia. It's a home game. I think a
Doesn't have a
win.
prayer in that
I'm
game.
gonna be honest with you. That game is in Knoxville, the third game of the year. It's going to be very, very telling on not only Georgia, but what this Tennessee team is actually going to be.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it last year. The run game was what kept them afloat. You know,
Yeah,
Dylan Sampson.
absolutely.
If the quarterback isn't, let's say, efficient, and they have no parts to use for the ground, it's going to be tough sledding for this Tennessee team.
Will's our guest tonight, Fresh.
They're going to struggle.
What up, pal?
Listen to this stat, Brad. I'm going to bring up a stat. Last year, when they ran for over 185 yards or more, they went 8-0.
Yep.
And I don't think they have that in this running back room that they had a year
I've
ago.
got one more topic before we get to the running back and replacing Dylan Simpson. But this one is just overall. Tennessee had a really strong defense last year, and this is kind of odd for a Josh Heuple team, but they had a really strong defense. They're also replacing an absolute ton on offense. Their wide receivers, offensive linemen, their quarterback. Will this Tennessee team take a step back just simply because they lost so much from what they have been the last couple of years?
They lost so much, it'd be impossible for them not to take a step back. That, and I'm not sold on Aguilar. I'm not sold on Bishop being able to run for 150, 200 yards game in and game out. Josh Heuple, if we can get to 7-5 this year, job well done.
They return a lot of talent defensively. You know, they bring Florida
They sure did lose a lot of good talent too.
I'll say this.
Pierce, I mean, golly.
They didn't pack up with the wide receiving core, which is kind of telling, probably because they have a lot of freshmen that are probably pretty good. They got Jefferson. They got Staley. There's some guys in there that kind of can back up Brazil and a bunch of those guys. But I think they take a step back offensively. I don't think – now defensively, I think they'll be pretty good. But offensively, I think they're going to take a step back a little bit, especially in the running game. I don't think –
Speaking of that, I'll let you go. You've tried to talk about it a couple of times already.
I just think
replacing Dylan Sampson. Go ahead, John.
I just think replacing Dylan Sampson is going to be tough. You know, you got Starr Thomas, you got Bishop, you got Royster. There's some guys in there that are really good, but I just don't think you're going to be able to you know, really pick up that production that Sampson left a year ago. It's going to be tough sledding because if you don't have the run game,
the passing game suffers big time because not only that in a regular scheme, but Josh Heuple's scheme is based off of that running game.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Starr Thomas and these guys are bad. I'm just saying to replace a guy like Dylan Sampson is a big load to do. You know, Dylan Sampson is a legit running back. He's probably going to play some in the NFL. He's why you just can't simply plug another guy in there and replace. He's that valuable.
Will, replacing Dylan Sampson, my question to you is this. I mean, Dylan Sampson last year at times I thought carried Tennessee.
He did.
He did.
He really did.
So, John, I
what
have
do
a
you think
question
about
for you.
replacing him?
I think it'll be a running back by committee. What do you think, John? I think
Yeah,
you're going to see
that's-
Star Thomas and Bishop.
Yeah, that's kind of
carrying
where I'm at with it. They have a few guys that they can switch in and out, and kind of have that guy that comes in on third down, that guy that comes in on first down. Now I will say they got another running back that Peyton Lewis is another one. He's really, really good. He's a sophomore. Merlinger is the guy I was thinking about, the quarterback. He would be another guy to watch out for in this quarterback
Well, he
race.
said 3-man rotation. I don't like Tennessee enough to know their third man on the depth chart. I'm just going to be honest.
Well, I try to keep up with it.
I'm just being straight up honest with y'all.
Brad always comes to me. He's like, all these guys' depth charts and all this.
Yeah,
But
I
the old
don't
saying
like
is-
them enough to even care about who their third string quarterback is.
Well, if you play a lot of college football 26, you're going to learn a lot about depth charts.
Trust me. I'm not playing with Tennessee, even if I did. I promise you that.
But the old saying is if you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have 1 quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. That's
very
so
true.
true, Will. I like that. All right. So Tennessee fans will have this. I think Josh Heuple has this. The way he talked today, if you got anything from Josh Heuple today, it was confidence. He was confident that they were going to be able to replace everybody, that the quarterback play was not going to drop off. It was confidence. With everything today at SEC Media Days, Will, I have a simple question for you. Is Tennessee a college football playoff contender?
No, absolutely not.
Not
That
this
I just
was
year.
don't see it.
Not this year. I think they take a step back, but I do think they win enough games to get to a bowl. I think they get eight wins. I just think they're going to take a step back a little bit this year, especially offensively. I think their offense is going to kind of take a step
I mean, they
back.
start out game 1 against Syracuse. I mean, Syracuse is going to
should
be
win.
okay, but I don't think they're a stellar team.
No, I mean they're kind of average if you look at them from a.
They're
Across
a middle of
the
the pack
broad-
ACC team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're a middle
Yeah.
of the pack ACC team. Like,
And the ACC might not be very good outside of Clemson, Miami, maybe.
probably not.
Louisville, I'll give you that, Will.
Well,
I'll
Louisville
throw them in the
will
bunch.
be better. Louisville will be really good.
I'll throw them in the bunch. just
I'll
to be
honestly
honest.
say this: Louisville's probably going to have a better basketball team than they are football. Let's just be.
I mean, listen, I like Braum. Not like him because he's a Louisville guy, but I like him as a coach. He's a good coach.
Well, me and you are kind of on the opposite. I like Pat Kelsey about as good as anybody, and I'm starting to kind of like him, like as a fan.
I
Like,
don't know. He's kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but we'll talk about basketball another time. But he's brash. He's a little brash, a little cocky. I don't know. I just don't like that. But I think
Yeah,
that
he's
also
a little goofy too. Yeah,
but I think that also helps him in coaching and getting players. So I get it. I'm just saying I don't exactly like. He kind of rubs me the wrong way. That's what I'm saying. All right, that was a little extra Louisville basketball, football stuff. I wasn't meaning to throw that in the show tonight, but we did. Well, Will's a Louisville fan, so that's part of the reason why I kind of threw that in. And Will can chime in on the Louisville stuff if he wants to. But we are going to go to Texas, and if you want to chime in, Will, on the Louisville stuff before you start this, you can. But Texas, I think, is probably the front runner in the SEC, and we're going to get to that a little bit later in the topic. But Steve Sarkisian took the stage today. Another guy that is very impressive when he speaks and how he speaks. Will, what do you think of Sark?
I follow two college football teams, Louisville, who I'll join you guys whenever you talk about the ACC, and Texas. Steve Sarkisian, now that he's grown up, now that he's put some of his personal issues behind him, is really impressive when he talks. You can tell he was a Saban guy.
Yep.
He makes you want to run through a brick wall. He might be a little arrogant, a little brash, but I think you need that if you want to be a big-time college football coach. I really like Steve Sarkisian. And another thing I like about him, you don't have to worry about him going to the NFL because he's not an NFL kind of coach.
That's true. That's 100% true. And I did question Sark, John, before he went to Saban. But ever since he went to Saban,
I question his play calling at times too, because you look at last year, they had so many chances against Ohio State. They ran probably one of the worst play calls I've ever seen.
That was so bad.
Running it, they was running it wide against the Ohio State defense.
Hopefully he did learn a lesson on
hopefully he learned from
third
that.
Down plays and stuff last year.
The scoop and six, that was pretty much the game.
Yeah.
So there's some things that, and even Quinn Ewers against Washington, he wouldn't let him, he wouldn't let him just, it was way too late and he wasn't doing enough. He wouldn't let him cook. Like,
I think
after
after his injury last year, this is just my opinion, but after Quinn Ewers in like week 3 missed a couple of, and had that, I think like a pec or shoulder or something in his mid, throwing arm. I forgot exactly what it was, but I don't think they ever really had the confidence in Ewers after that.
Well, this was 2 years ago before his injury, I believe. He should have beat Washington, or should have really whipped Washington and played Michigan for the title, and they would have probably beat Michigan. Let's be honest. They was probably that good.
Yeah.
But
Sark got out coached that game.
He got out coached that game, got out coached the Ohio State game. I'm gonna say this really loud and clear, and I'm gonna say it for everybody in college.
To be honest, Kirby Smart beat him twice last year as well.
And I'm gonna say this for all of college sports cast and everybody watching. It's time for Texas to win a college national championship. And if they want to do it, this is the year to do it.
Fair enough. That's a good statement to move on from for the next topic here. And the next one's kind of a big one, man. We finally get to see Arch Manning. This is year 3 of being at Texas. Will, I don't know if you saw his press conference today. It was one of the last things of the day, but it was a cesspool of media guys just surrounding Arch Manning.
Something else that I really liked about him is he flashed off his grandpa's jersey.
Yep.
That was pretty great.
Will we finally get to see? I think you kind of like Texas here a little bit, so I want to get your opinion on just what Arch Manning is and what you think we're going to see.
I think Arch Manning has a rocket for an arm. He can also tuck the ball and go. I like the fact he was given time to develop. When he went to Texas, I thought they were going to say, okay, you're Cooper Manning's son. You're related to Eli and Peyton and Archie.
And just
you're going to start from day one. Yep. But they made him earn it. He looked good when he has played. And, John, I'm glad you think it's time for Texas to win a national championship.
I do. I think this year is the year because you have Arch, you have all the talented receivers that he's going to have. Now, they do have some overturn on the offensive line a little bit, which will kind of work itself out early in the season. You'll find your mix and matches and the right combos. But I think this is the year if they want to, and the schedule sets up good for them.
The schedule was not bad for them last year either.
They got road dates
this year.
They only have road dates at Ohio State and Georgia as the big ones. but I think they're good enough to split a couple of those.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, and I might be wrong after week 1. If they could go into Ohio State and win that game, they go undefeated.
What kind of season do you think Arch Manning has? Is he a Heisman front runner? Is he second or third in the SEC as far as quarterbacks? What kind of season do you think he has?
Well, you got the Nussmeier at LSU. You got Sellers down in South Carolina. You got Lagway at Florida. Even being in the top 4, he could be in the top. Even being 4th among those, he could be in the top 4 in the Heisman.
Yeah, he's going to be in the mix. With Sellers and Lagway and the Gunnar Stockton and
let's be honest, guys. The legacy that this kid carries is enormous.
A huge torch.
I mean, it's enormous. Like
I don't even think
see what we saw today. You don't see the cesspool of media quite like we seen around Arch Manning today for a guy who would be starting the 3rd time ever in college football. I mean, the legacy that this kid carries. John, I'll ask you this. Does he live up to that legacy?
I think he does. I think, like Will said, I think if he can get by Ohio State in that first game, I think they can go undefeated. Now, I will say the Georgia game is going to be tough. Playing on the road in Athens is not an easy task. That's like going to Alabama, but
Ohio State's not going to be easy on the road.
Ohio State's not. I'm going to tell you something. A lot of folks, if you ain't watching football on that particular Saturday,
I'm telling you, that's going to be a nail biter.
A special game.
Yeah,
and it's going to live up to the hype. And you got a freshman quarterback in Sayans for Ohio State, which I'm.
And a first-year starter with Arch.
You talked about this the other day. How's it going to affect him being a freshman trying to combat what Will did last year?
Yeah.
For Ohio State.
I mean, that game, Texas-Ohio State, is going to be, must-see TV.
And I'm going to say this. I don't think Texas's offense is the best part. I think their defense is.
Well, Will, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him. Arch Manning has possibly one of the biggest legacies to live up to. Do you think he lives up to his Manning legacy?
Let me answer that with the question. Should he try to live up to that? Or should he just go be the best Arch Manning he can be and just say to hell with the legacy?
Yeah, well, it's easy to say, Will, and yes, him personally, I think that's what he should do to be the best that he can be. But the truth is, whatever that is, he will always be measured with the Manning legacy.
I think he'll be the number 1 pick. I don't know if he'll come out this year or the following season. I think he'll be solid. I think he'll at least be as good as
possibly
Eli was.
Come back. You think he might come back for a 4th year?
I think he might come back. I think he'll be as good as Eli. I don't think we'll see another college quarterback as good as Peyton Manning. So I think he can be as good as Eli, but just go out and be the best you can do.
That's fair. And for him, Will, I fully agree with what you're saying. For him. That's the only way he can go about it and be the best that he can be. But that legacy, especially the college football legacy of the Mannings, and you could throw in the pros too, but just in college alone is a lot to carry. Let's just put it that way. Maybe not even live up to, but it's a lot to carry.
Now, I have a question for you and John. If you're Sarkisian, is there something you can do to keep the media away from him? Say you can only have this many minutes and then it's done.
Well, I can tell you after today, maybe you brought him to SEC Media Days just to get that one time so everybody had access and he got 15 minutes and asked questions.
I got something funny to say. Did anybody see where Sarkisian walked out to the Aggie hymn.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I did. Yes, I thought it was kind of funny. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it was
I
kind of
thought
funny.
that was pretty good. Oh,
All right, guys, I'm going to move on. I really think one of the most interesting topics in college football this year is Arch Manning. It's going to be I'm going to be glued to the TV to watch how he plays. And I'm not a Texas guy at all, okay? But everybody knows the Manning legacy. And I don't know how you could not be paying attention to it. That's all I'll say.
There's gonna be a lot of tension on it.
All right. Replacing NFL talent for Texas. You was talking about their defense, John. They're replacing a lot of talent.
Yeah, they have to replace quite a bit. And they lost their Amari Niblack, their tight end. They didn't lose really anyone major through the portal. He went to he was a former Alabama prospect.
I think they had 13 draft picks, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. 13. They do bring back Malik Muhammad. I'm going to say this: the second most important player on this team, next to Arch Manning, is Anthony Hill Jr.
Yes,
he is
defensive linebacker, 100%. I agree with that.
He's good. He's probably going to be a top 5-10 pick next year in the draft. They do got Trey Moore. He returns. He played, I think, at UTSA some. So they bring back a solid group of guys defensively. I don't think they're really going to take a step back, Brad. I think, they're going to have another year.
I'm just asking the question because, Will, I don't care what kind of talent you have, replacing 13 NFL draft picks on one team is a lot. Like, it's a lot. You
think about it
any otherwise.
You think about it, Brad. They played Michigan last year to start the year, right? They won, went on to have a great season. The 2023 team went to Alabama and won and ended up in the 14 college football playoff. Yep. The 2005, I think, team beat Ohio State week 2, and they went on to win the national championship. So a lot of big games early in the season for Texas that they've had, they've went on to actually have great years.
They have.
This will be an even bigger one for Ohio State. Even for their side, it'll be big for them. I'm excited. I'm excited about SEC football.
It's not easy to go into the shoe and get a win.
It's not. It's a tough place and tough environment. And I'm excited that we have Will on tonight. That it was great to have Will on with us tonight.
But thank you, John. As far as replacing the NFL talent, you're going into the horseshoe, Columbus, Ohio.
You're going into a tough environment.
Yeah.
It'll be really hard to replace 13 NFL players, even if you are Texas and you're in the SEC and you have the biggest college athletics budget in the history of college sports.
So I'm hearing, speaking of that, I hear $40 million on this roster.
You're still having to replace 13 NFL players at week 1. That might be a bit impossible. I think over the course of the year they can grow into it. But really, you're just going to have to hope that Ohio State's also growing. Now, going off topic for a minute, I might be the only person who's still not sold on Ryan Day. If he wasn't at Ohio State, I don't know if his record would be what it is.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great game to start week 1.
It'll be an absolute stellar environment. It'll be a great game to pay attention to. I'm looking forward to that game. So, all right, my next to last topic on Texas are the Longhorns the top SEC contender?
Yes.
I have them going undefeated, so I would say yes.
Yes, they are.
So
and the next team next to them, I know Brad don't want to hear this, but it might be Alabama.
It could be.
There's a lot of chatter.
It could
Josh Pate mentioned something yesterday. Was it yesterday, day before, maybe today? That Alabama, there's there's a lot of no weaknesses for them. There's a lot of great things coming out of Tuscaloosa. So
getting Grubb back for Kalen DeBoer is a big deal.
yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
That's his offensive coordinator that he had at Washington with Michael Penix Jr. And everywhere that Grubb has been with Kellen DeBoer, they have been spectacular together as head coach and offensive coordinator. And we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I agree with both of you guys here. I do think this Texas team is the top contender. And as an SEC guy and Texas just coming in last year, that's tough for me to say, just to be honest with you. But I do think they are SEC now. I get it. I understand. And, but I do believe that this Texas team, with the talent that they have and with Arch Manning and the eyes they're going to have on them now, could they lose that Ohio State game and still be the top contender? Yeah. In the SEC? Yeah, I think they can. So
because that one game is not going to tear what they do. I mean,
this question kind of goes along with what John was talking about. And Arch has been there. This is 2 years. All he knows is going to the Final Four. For a lack of better words, the last 4 teams playing. There was a 4-team college football playoff in 23. They made it to the semifinals last year. All Arch knows, and a lot of these Texas players, is the college football playoff and being in the last 4 teams playing. My question will this team make it back to being one of the last 4 teams playing in the college football playoff?
I'm going to say yes, as long as Arch Manning is who Arch Manning should be. Steve Sarkisian learns how to coach a little bit better in the big games.
Yeah, he needs to work on some play. There's some play calls that has costed him a few times in crucial moments, especially last season.
They still have made it to the last 4 teams.
I'll say this, and then we'll move on, Brad. I think they are. Do they make it back? Yes. But Arch is going to have his growing pains. There's going to be games where he's not going to play great. And Texas is going to have to understand that. There's going to be nights where he's going to throw a couple picks. But can he overcome that and be the quarterback that he needs to be? And I think he will, just because of his name. And I think he's going to do what he says he's going to do. He was really positive today. He was confident in his answers. I think the kid's got a lot of talent, and I think he's going to be really, really good for Texas and Steve Sarkisian.
Now, my next statement, I'm kind of joking, but you think he learned how to read a book first or how to read a defense first? See, now he's related to the Mannings.
I mean, I'd say by 4 or 5, they were already teaching him how to read a defense.
Yeah, they was probably teaching him how to read it through his window or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, let's be honest. All right, guys, to end the show here, is there any SEC news or rumors, anything from today or the last 2 days, SEC media days? I know we kind of talked about the Nick Saban thing and kind of Kirby Smart kind of putting that to bed, was asked about whether he thought Saban would come back into coaching. And he basically said that it wouldn't be up to him.
It'd be up to Sister Terry.
Yeah. He basically said, you're going to have to ask her that question. It's basically what he said when it comes to that.
Can I address something you guys covered last night? I didn't get to be with you guys last night, though.
Yeah, sure.
For everybody in the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-12, Sun Belt, Mountain West, whatever other conference there is that wants the SEC to go to 9 games, how about you shut up and go to 10 games first? Because the 8 games they play are harder than any of the 9 games you're playing in conference. So unless you're willing to go play 8 SEC teams out of your 12-game schedule, Quit calling for them to go to a 9-game schedule. It's absolutely pointless. There's no incentive for the SEC to do it. They're already the best college football conference. And if you keep picking at them, you might eventually drive them out of the NCAA, and people would still watch more SEC football than they would the teams remaining in the NCAA.
This is all true.
Let's end on that, Brad.
This is all true. I tried to have a big statement last night about it, but
let's end it with that. That was great.
and this is coming from an ACC and Louisville guy, to be honest. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. Tomorrow at the SEC Media Days, we get to do Auburn. We get to do Alabama, Florida, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. That's the 4 teams tomorrow. Of those 4 teams, give me some just quick little tidbits. What are you looking forward to the most, Will?
I think Kalen DeBoer is in over his head at Alabama. I think he better get it figured out this year, because last year he looked like he was in over his head.
Yeah, I think this needs to be a better year for Alabama. I think they need.
What about Venables?
I think the idea
is done.
I think the idea, Brad, is getting his offensive coordinator back from Washington was a big plus.
Yeah,
I'm going to kind of just go through these. Florida, I'm really excited about DJ Lagway. I think he's got a rocket arm.
Second year for Levy.
He can move in the pocket. Mississippi State is a question mark. I mean,
it's the second year for Levy. We'll see if there's any progress.
There was a lot of talk last year that a lot of fans was not happy with all this.
Yeah.
But let's give him time. Let's let him see what he can do. And then on Oklahoma, Venable's going to have
another team that needs a lot of progress.
They need
8 wins is a must, if you ask me.
They need to get
with Auburn.
They need to get to at least 7 or 8 wins. I mean,
I think 8 wins is a must.
It is. Yeah.
Just like I said with Auburn, if you ask me.
I think 3 of those 4 teams have new head coaches in 26. I think Florida, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma are all guaranteed to have new coaches.
I actually think Florida improves on what they did a year ago. I think Florida – I wouldn't say Florida's top.
I think if Florida falters, I think Florida definitely will. I agree with you.
I don't think Florida's top 10, but I think they're good enough to be in the top 30.
Their Florida top 30 is not good enough.
It's not, but that's basically where they're going to be.
All right, guys, before we close the show out, go to homefieldapparel.com. Check them out for some really cool vintage licensed college gear. There's over 180 teams to choose from. They have retro logos, mascots, throwback jerseys, teams. It's really cool. Check them out. Use our code CSCast for a 15% discount if you are the first-time buyer. If not, please use our code anyway and give us a little bit of credit. We would appreciate that. But they have some really, really cool collegiate licensed gear. So check them out. We are on the Real Fresh channel. Check them out. Tune in to Stadium Rant. Will is a part of Stadium Rant. They have a massive, large array of sports shows and content for you guys. Go to their YouTube page, their Facebook page.
I was going to bring up something too before we kind of logged out. We will be doing somebody asked me today about it. We will be doing our conference previews coming up in August 1st. Somebody first. There was 2 or 3 people asked me today if we was going to do that, and I kind of was going to bring it up tonight to let everybody know that we was going to be doing that.
Will, you want to chime in on anything to do with Stadium Rant? Will is with Stadium Rant.
We have shows every night of the week. I'll be on Ringside Rant tomorrow night. Hopefully, I'll be right back here Thursday night talking about SEC. We're always honored to join and win with College SportsCast. So thanks for having me on, guys.
We appreciate you.
All right. Man. I just wanted to let him chime in there with Stadium Rant. We appreciate Stadium Rant being a part of Stadium Rant, doing the shows with Stadium Rant, writing with Stadium Rant like we have. So we just want to make sure that you guys know about the Real Fresh channel and Stadium Rant. Also, check us out, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X. Please go to stadiumrant.com. Check out all the articles. And with that, guys, I think we're going to call it a night. I appreciate it, Will. John, it's been fun. I really love doing these about SEC football media days. It's one of my favorite things in summer, to be quite honest, because for me, as a college guy, there's just not a lot of college stuff going on. I'm not that interested in the pro stuff, to be honest. Will is interested in wrestling and does a lot of other stuff, so he may be.
Well, if you ain't doing that, then the MLB All-Star game is going on right now.
See, and I'm just not. I don't know. They screwed that up for me a long time ago when they started doing the winner got the World Series. I hated it a long time ago. I hated that shit a long time ago.
Brad's just being uneasy tonight, ain't he, Will?
I seriously, I'm a college guy. I'm a college sports guy. And this is my favorite part of summer as far as sports.
It really is, because it's that moment you get to talk about college football.
It's talking season.
And realize that we're what? Under 38 days, 37 days away?
Yeah, we're 6 weeks away, 5.5 weeks away, something like that. It's an exciting time. It's talking
and
season.
we know good as y'all know, you're going to watch week 0 with all these teams that are not playing.
Oh, I can't
I'm going
wait.
to watch some of it. I promise you, I'm going to watch some of it. I guarantee it.
I'll tell you a funny story, Will. This is funny. About 4 years ago, we were starting a podcast. We was actually starting our podcast.
It was starting our podcast 4 years ago. Yep.
It was 4 years ago, and we had another partner on the show at the time. And he wanted to do a video of week 0.
He wanted to do a live stream. We had just started, had no followers, okay? And he wanted to do a live stream of Vanderbilt and Hawaii.
Who's gonna watch that?
And I told him, who the hell is going to watch that? And he was like, he started cussing, asked John. He got into it with me. And I told him
he was adamant on it. Like he was
man.
Like,
and I told him he was an idiot. Matter of fact, right after that, I just cut ties with him because he was an absolute idiot, to be honest.
Oh, but I bring that story up to laugh about the week 0 thing, because I don't. Here's my thing about it, Will. I get why they do it. Me and Brad mentioned this the other day. It's to give other teams that are not on TV regularly, give them a chance to
get money
give them some revenue.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just funny because he was adamant on Hawaii.
Wouldn't let it go. Matter of fact, I told him not to do it, and he got on and done it anyway, and then had 2 people on the live stream, and he got mad at me and told me that I set him up and all this other stuff. It was crazy. And I just laughed at it. I just laughed. I was like, I told you.
Who's really going to watch Vandy in Hawaii at midnight? Like,
I'm not going to watch Vandy in Hawaii at noon, 3, 7, midnight.
That was the game. I swear. Look it up. 4 years ago. It was Hawaii and Vandy. And it was in Hawaii, I'm pretty sure.
It was actually at Hawaii, too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Hawaii. Yeah.
Didn't Vandy win that game?
I think so. I think they did.
I think they had a good start 4 years ago, and then it fell off.
Yeah, they won like their first 3 or something like that. Yeah, I think that year.
We can always laugh and have a good time here, Will. So,
yeah,
like you all do at Ringside Rant, we always have to have a good laugh before we get off the show. So.
It was definitely funny. I can tell you, I laughed so hard at him. You have no idea.
Oh, I mean, and the thing was, I kept telling Brad. And I joke about it now, but I kept telling Brad, I said, nobody's going to sit there and watch that. It's Vanderbilt in Hawaii. Nobody's going to watch that game, especially at midnight.
Like I said, we were just starting. We had no followers. Like
midnight on the East Coast, you're going to have like 100 people show up.
If you got live stream, you live stream Texas and Ohio State or Texas and Georgia.
Yeah, Texas and Ohio State might get us some people on, something like that.
Might get at least a few, 3 or 4. Oh my goodness.
But I appreciate you guys. Man. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I got another Stadium Rant guest who would love to be on with me Thursday night if you guys are open to it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it, man. I'm trying to get some people on with us this week. So if you want to come back Thursday night, that'd be cool with me. That's when Kentucky it comes to the stage on Thursday. So
Brad's got some things he'd like to say about that.
If it's cool with you guys, me and my co-host from Ringside Rant, we'll join you guys Thursday night if you're open to having 4 people.
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, my only thing is sometimes when I get 4 people on, it doesn't run as well. You notice tonight when I first started, it was kind of running a little crappy. So we'll see. I'll start it out, but that's the reason why I try to keep it to 3. But we have done 4, but sometimes when I do that, it's a little sloppy.
But for all of our Stadium Rant listeners, make sure you guys tune into College SportsCast. Unlike Matt Jones, they don't sell you product and they don't make up product. If you want Kentucky news, Brad and John are going to tell you what is or what's not, and they're not going to sell you what isn't.
Hey, man, I appreciate that, Will. I do try to keep it real, to be honest with you. That's about Kentucky. That's about Louisville. That's about Tennessee. That's about Texas. That's about Oklahoma, Auburn, Alabama. I don't care who I'm talking about. I do try to keep it real, and not fluff things up at all. You can ask John. I strictly try to keep my rants and my fuss that we do here about real stuff, just like I was talking about with the 8 versus 9 game schedule. If your strength of schedule is nowhere near, please shut the hell up. I don't know what you're talking about. So, I mean, it's just I try to keep it real. And guys, we are going to end the show and get off here. I do appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a great night and enjoy day 3 tomorrow at the SEC Media Days. We will see you tomorrow night at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Y'all have a good night.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.